Coming up on today's show, Christian Horner has spoken out about the allegations against him. The RB20 was revealed, and it looks like Red Bull may be taking a leaf out of Mercedes' handbook. And finally, Zak Brown has spoken out about the relationship between VCARB and Red Bull. Welcome to F1 Briefings in partnership with Sports Illustrated. My name is Alex Harrington. I'm an FIA accredited journalist, and this is Lydia Mee to my right.
Hello, and if you like what we're saying, please do give us a follow on social media. I'm at Lydia Mee F1. You are at Alex Does F1.
Certainly am.
And while you're there, give SI F1 and F1 Briefings a follow for all the latest updates.
Sorry, I got you there, didn't I?
You did.
If you are watching on YouTube, you can listen on the podcastings, all the podcastings. We are there on your favourite. Let's jump in straight to the first story. Now, there are more reports, there are rumours. We are not going to talk about anything that is unconfirmed. We'll talk about things if they are officially confirmed, if it gets to that point. But for now, let's talk about Christian Horner and what he said at the Red Bull release last night. Now, the RB20 was released. It was a huge thing in Milton Keynes, where the team is from. He's commented on a bit of everything. There was Sky F1 there was BBC, there was a huge number of outlets. But he's talked about the allegations against him. And he's talked about the relationships with, there's Slack in the background, with Jos, Max, Helmut Marko. And he's kind of put a few things to bed. Now, like I said, there are rumours and reports coming out every day. We don't want to comment on them just in case they are wrong. We are aware of them. But look, let's start at the beginning. What happened and why are we talking about this in the first place?
Well, it was so towards the end, the beginning of the month,
Yep.
Allegations came out against Christian Horner of coercive and controlling behaviour. These came from a female colleague from Red Bull Racing. From that, the parent company Red Bull have launched an independent investigation into the allegations. The hearing / interview, whatever you want to call it, took place last Friday. That is thought to be the first of a few. The investigation is still ongoing, so not much can actually be said, but Horner does strongly deny the accusations, whatever they specifically may be. So yesterday, I think it really gave him the first opportunity to speak about them. Obviously, there was a lot of press there, and that is going to be the first question that he's asked. So he did kind of confirm that he's carrying on as business as usual until the investigation is concluded. There's also been a few rumours circulating about a potential broken down relationship or friction in the relationship with him and Max, Max's dad Jos, and Helmut Marko. He again has just said everything's fine, we're all good. Max has said as well that, you know, he's just focusing on the season ahead and he's supportive, but you know, he's more focused on his own thing, isn't he? Yeah,
I mean, Max will always be kind of focused on the racing. That's obviously what comes first to him. Yeah, there were reports kind of earlier, maybe a month or so ago, of this almost civil war happening in Red Bull with Helmut Marko, who's in charge of, you know, their junior driver program, but also kind of he seems to just consult generally with the team, especially with Max Verstappen. You know, he's constantly commenting on the drivers, other drivers on the grid. You know, he's obviously a huge part of Red Bull currently. He's down as a director of the company, of the racing team. And yeah, there was reports of, you know, Helmut and Christian butting heads a little bit, this kind of power struggle. Because look, if you're in charge of Red Bull, you're in charge of F1 right now, aren't you? That's the thing. Yeah, a couple of quotes from Christian Horner. Let's run through these now. First of all, on the allegations against him. This is from the BBC. Firstly, I obviously deny the allegations that have been made, but I'm going through a process and fully respect it. Of course, it is a distraction for the team, but the team are very together. It's business as normal, focusing on preparing for the season ahead. We are one team. We are one group. The shareholders have been incredibly supportive of the team. And then he was asked if he was the man to take Red Bull to victory again this season. Absolutely. I've done it for 20 years and have no doubts about that. Yeah, he's been at Red Bull since, 2005? And, you know, the thing is, take away all these allegations, take away what's happening off the track, because we have nothing confirmed yet. He is the leader of Red Bull, and if he disappeared, Red Bull would kind of be a bit lost without him. You know, he is arguably one of the greatest in regards to how he leads a team on the grid. You know, Red Bull came in as just an energy drink company and have become this Goliath of motorsport. You know, 6 constructors championships. They've had some of the greatest drivers driving for them, and it's fair to say that if something, if this is all confirmed to be true, and Horner loses his place as team principal, this could be devastating for Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Red Bull as well, which I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of other people have as well, especially last season, like, they were so tightly knit. Is that the right phrase, someone?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
We're going to roll with it.
Yeah.
Like, they barely made any mistakes at any point of their process and their team. And that will be from management down. Like, the pit stops were flawless. Everything just worked so well. And there was no glimpse or glimmer of anything being wrong. And I think if he was to leave, it would leave, well, first of all, leave a big dent in the team. It would shake up the team. And that is ultimately not what you want a week before pre-season testing and 2 weeks before the first Grand Prix of the year. Yeah,
totally. You know, losing Horner would destabilize the management of the team, and that there will be a trickle-down effect. And I think the good thing, you know, is we are now at a point where I think a lot of the season will be generally mapped out. You know, they have an initial idea of the development of the car, of you know, they've been training. I mean, the team is looking great as it is, like you just said. There's very little going wrong. But, you know, something like this, it affects morale as well. Definitely. You know, because just like us, I would think a lot of the team also don't know what's going on. But you can read headlines, you can read articles, you can read Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, and it's scary. It's scary, the rumours that are being told. And, you know, as a team member, you'd start to think, wait a second, I'm maybe not in the right place. I don't agree with what's coming from these rumours, as in, I don't agree with the rumoured behaviour.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is going to be a tough season start for Red Bull. They need to... It's so difficult because it's such a touchy subject. As a team, as individuals within the team, they need to get their head down and they just need to work like they have been and show that regardless of who is in charge, they can do it. You know, if things are confirmed or whatever, when things finally come to fruition, they may think differently, you know, depending on what the outcome is. But right now, they need to focus and hopefully ignore headlines. Because look, regardless of what happens to Christian Horner, that this shouldn't affect the drivers. This shouldn't affect the other people in the team.
No.
And yeah, I think, you know, this will affect them. There's no way around that. But look, it's a difficult subject. It's a very difficult subject. We are stepping very carefully because there are certain rules that we have to abide by as well as journalists. Nothing has been confirmed to us. We only have confirmation, and we are only taking confirmation from official sources. So we don't want to start rumours, and we don't want to talk about rumours. We don't want to talk about speculation. Because look, I'm not going to lie, this could open up legal issues for us. So of course we're not going to talk about it. We have seen everything going on. We are aware of everything that's been said. And we just hope that the right outcome is made. Mm-hmm. That is all we can say on the subject. And we hope as well that the people in the team who have done the right thing and who are behaving as they should aren't affected.
Yes. Because
it'd be so unfair if they are. And, you know, depending on whatever happens, don't like, it's so difficult.
Don't pin it against Red Bull as a whole.
Don't pin it against Red Bull as a whole. That is exactly what I was trying to say. Let's move on, because this is a scary subject. Let's move on to the RB20 reveal. Now, this was really interesting, actually. This was incredibly interesting. the RB20 was revealed last night in Milton Keynes, and it was actually, I think it was the best reveal of, one of the best reveals at least, of the whole beginning of the season. But what has blown people away was the actual design of the RB20. We saw the renders, and that's, you can never believe renders because it's digital. People are wanting to hide things, which they did. But then we saw the car in person. And now before we start, let's not think that what we've seen is what we're going to see in Bahrain.
Yeah.
Because they're still going to be hiding things. We are seeing exactly what Red Bull want to show us. And that could be a very different thing because they want to protect their designs, don't they? They've got Adrian Newey. Keep him behind a closed door. Talented bugger. But from the real photographs that are scrolling between us right now, it looks like Red Bull are kind of taking ideas from different parts of the grid, especially though Mercedes. Now, let me go on to a larger slideshow. Let's hope this is actually going to work for us.
I love that they've got someone mopping.
I know, this is absolutely brilliant. They can do my car next. Hey, overdone joke. I'm actually going to remove this as well at the bottom so you can see everything. But look at, first of all, the side pods. And let's just scroll to a better image. Look at the side pods. This has been a very big part of the conversation because it actually looks like they are taking ideas from Mercedes' zero pod concept.
I can't cope.
Can you imagine? There's a vertical slat that you can see. It looks like a vertical intake, just like that on the W13, the W14, on the first part of the season, before they changed to be more in line with Red Bull with a downwash. There's a vertical slat, and it looks like they're actually kind of, Adrian Newey's been there with his famous pencil and notebook, going, yeah, zero pod looks kind of cool. Let's see if we can take Mercedes to school. Which is really, and it's exciting. We don't know. Even, when we get to Bahrain, this whole car might just have the zero pod concept on it. They might remove the side pod, the downwash side pod that you can see on these images for Bahrain, and we could be left with what the W14 should have been.
Sorry, I'm just trying to process this information, which I have been trying to process since last night when they launched the Red Bull. Because that is just like there's no other way of saying it in my brain, but like the biggest middle finger
yes.
to Mercedes to be like, that's cute. I'm going to just take your idea and tell you what you should have done.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. We've had the Mercedes reveal. We know James Allison, the genius behind some of the greatest F1 cars in history, is back on the project. And they are moving in a direction that looks more like the RB19.
Yeah.
Downwash side pod. They've removed the huge kind of gullies you can see on the engine cover right here. The huge gullies that the RB20 now has. And that was taken from Mercedes. So obviously Mercedes was doing something right. What else have we got? Yeah, there's these huge shoulders. You can see them really well in this image. The huge shoulders, and that kind of directs air to the rear of the car where it's not going to affect much because you get a lot of turbulence from that halo at the front over the cockpit. So the question is, are we going to see Red Bull produce a zero-podded car? Maybe. Maybe. Also, it's interesting that they've, like I said, this might not be the same car, but they still have a side pod. So some people are saying there is a very small horizontal slit just at the front of the side pod, about there. And, are there going to be two slits? Is this just Red Bull trying to hide what they're doing? Are they going to keep the downwash side pod because that aerodynamically helps them?
Or is this all a marketing tactic and it will just look like the RB19?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you can see from the floor. The floor it's soft. Like there's nothing happening. They're obviously trying to hide everything on the floor, as you would. But it's really interesting. They've also changed the front wing. The front wing now connects to the very lower flap of the wing, and that was something that they didn't do. And now Mercedes, everyone has done the same as Red Bull, and Red Bull's gone, actually, hold on, Wait a second.
That's so last year.
Exactly. Couldn't have put it better myself. It's really interesting. I'm very, very excited because, look, this season, we might have cars that are as fast as Red Bull, and I need this. I need there to be a fight for first place. But I also love the work of Adrian Newey, and I think, regardless of who he is designing for, I'm really, really excited by his talent. You know, people are right. He can see air. It's a thing. He can. It's true.
I think as well, it would have been so easy for them to just basically do another RB19, but it's very slightly different. It's nice to see that they are kind of still innovating and trying different things, and yeah, it's exciting. It makes the build up to the season more exciting because you see that car and you're like, oh, technical term. Like, what is it going to be like?
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
No, this is one of the most exciting parts of the season for me.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the RB19. They were against their cost cap punishment, so they didn't have a load of wind tunnel time. But this year they didn't have that, so they could really push and they could be aggressive. You know, Max said that the RB19 was just a simple conservative evolution. This is an evolution, but it's not conservative at all. This is aggressive. This is aggressive, really aggressive. But could it go wrong?
Can we just talk about the fact that he called the RB19 conservative?
Yeah, I know.
It won all but one races.
I know. It was I kind of felt, oh, if that's what Max thinks, then wow, we're in for a really boring season of a very dominant car again.
Oh no.
But look, this could go very wrong for Red Bull because they've made such a huge change. They haven't done any testing. It is such a distant evolution. You know, it's such a jump that they could have jumped in the wrong direction. They're putting a lot of eggs in one basket right now. So we could potentially see that a third of the way through the season, halfway through the season, they go, actually, you know, a bit like Mercedes did 2023, actually, we've gone in the wrong direction. Let's pull it back. And it could mean that we get Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren. VCARB. Yeah, but I mean, potentially, we could see other teams on the podium, which is so exciting. We need that. The sport needs that because last year was, you know, everyone called it... It was incredible to watch from, wow, we'll never see someone this dominant again. It was a great example of talent and skill behind the wheel and the skill of a team, which, yes, we should appreciate massively. But we're here to watch some racing. Yeah. Let's go racing. Let's go racing. So I kind of hope they've got something wrong. I've got to admit. Well, I want competition.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
What you really should be saying is you want the others to have dramatically improved.
Yes.
But, you know.
Good point.
Tomato.
Talking of competition, Zach Brown is not happy with... Let's go back here and let's go back here. Zach Brown is not happy with how VCARB is kind of in this relationship with Red Bull. Let's just back up for a minute. VCARB, previously AlphaTauri, previously... it's had a huge it's been a long era.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. Let's talk about the relationship that they've got with Red Bull. Red Bull bought Minardi and turned it into Toro Rosso. And basically what they were using it for is like a junior driver program. And then AlphaTauri it became, and it was a billboard for their clothing fashion
it's clothing
department.
Brand. Yeah.
I still don't see anyone wearing AlphaTauri clothing apart from the drivers, but oh well. And then they thought, you know what, it's still not going very well. Let's make the most of the fact that we own this team. Let's turn it into Toro Rosso 2.0, I mean VCARB, and let's actually build a team that might work, because obviously fashion isn't where Red Bull should be right now. But, you know, VCARB, everyone hated it. Everyone hated the fact that VCARB became the RB19 version 2.
Yeah. And
we don't like the fact and this includes me, I don't like the fact it's called Visa Cash Out RB. Yeah. Stupid. They're selling products. I hate that. It's a thing that happens, but Visa Cash App is literally a product that they're selling. Hate it. But then they came out with the best looking livery of the bunch. Yeah. And I'm kind of won over again. But the relationship between VCARB and Red Bull is very technical. It's very serious. And Zak Brown of McLaren, he isn't actually that happy because what other sport allows you to own two teams?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, because he's mentioned it before, and a lot of people have said, well, why are you only just mentioning it now? Like, it's only when you're kind of being a bit more competitive against them. But he does actually raise a fairly fair point, in my opinion, that actually it's become more of an issue in recent years because the cost cap has leveled the playing field by a large amount, but not completely. Yeah. But now all 10 teams are much closer together. It seems like more of an issue. I think on top of that, I know we'll get into what Zak Brown has specifically said, but for me as well, on top of that, we've got Andretti who really wants to enter the grid, and there was other interest as well. It wasn't just Andretti, but obviously they got further along than anybody else did. But if you're not going to let another team into the grid, I do think questions do need to then be asked about how one company can own two. There's only a certain amount of spaces, and that just seems a little bit off, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. I mean, F1's reasoning behind not allowing Andretti onto the grid was that they didn't hold enough value. And, you know, we've done videos on this countless times. Andretti has more value than half the grid. Like, let's face it, half the teams there, maybe not half, but Andretti has so much value in motorsport generally. It's a massive name and a successful name at that. And yet Red Bull owns VCARB, which is just like a sponsorship case study. And like you said, I don't believe VCARB holds the value that Andretti has. And yeah, Zak Brown has spoken out on it. He's really not happy. He said to Craig Slater, who's Sky Sports F1, he said, "I'm speaking in the wider interest of the sport. If you look at every other major sport, you're not allowed to own two teams. And I'd even go further. There's A-B team relationships. When they started 15 years ago, it was because there were big gaps between the top teams and the bottom teams. Now that there's a great budget cap in place, all teams are pretty much running at the cap. It's an equal playing field. I can tell you from sitting in the FIA F1 commission meetings, the voting is always the same, when in theory it shouldn't be in one of the team's best interests."
I think that's interesting as well, because a lot of people will forget that that is what happens behind the scenes. And if you've got an opportunity where each team is making or voting for something, you're not, let's be honest, you're not going to have Red Bull and VCARB, almost called Mafatauri, it's a process.
Toro Rosso Minardi.
You're never going to have them voting against each other, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, theoretically, I'm not saying this has happened, but there could be a rule that comes down from Red Bull, the energy drink company, the big umbrella company, saying, you know what, in this race, can Daniel Ricciardo just dive bomb Lewis Hamilton, please? Because I want Red Bull to win this one. Theoretically, it could happen. And it's down to the driver to be like, that's not right. Or, you know, theoretically, it could happen because they're owned by the same people. And this is a worry to a lot of fans and a lot of journalists as well. You know, we see it. We see that there's, you know, an obvious kind of, it's just something not quite right about it. Zak has called for the FIA to do something about the situation. He said, we've seen it on track. Some collaborations are going on.
It's not proved, though.
No, this is just a quote from Zak Brown. Technically, they've been very forthright in, we're going to take the suspension, etc. The definition of a constructor is someone who develops their own intellectual property. I think the sport has moved on to an equal playing field. To have A-B relationships and co-ownerships of two teams on a level playing field is not what the fans expect. The FIA really need to do something about it. Yeah, so he's talking about the fact that VCARB is using Red Bull parts. It's all within the rules, but they are doing that. They are sharing it, just as Haas kind of does a similar thing with Ferrari.
Yeah.
But you could say it's a similar kind of thing that, you know, McLaren is still using a Mercedes engine. Yes, it's not to that extent, but McLaren is still using a Mercedes engine.
And Aston uses more of the Mercedes.
Yeah,
than
basically the
McLaren
whole rear
does.
end. Yeah. So, you know, I do feel he has a point, but it is such a grey area, and his team is within that grey area. So, you know, it does make me think maybe he needs to look at what he's saying, look at what his team is doing. You know, if there's going to be a line, there needs to be a line, and that will probably mean that, you know, you can't have a customer, you can't sell engines, you can't buy engines. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? It's just such a grey area.
I see kind of engine partnerships as less of an issue, but I also see Zach Brown's points. It is difficult because they've been around for so long and they've kind of set a precedent now.
Let's say this: 2026 Red Bull powertrains.
Well,
I assume VCARB is gonna, or, you know, Audi as it will be then. I assume
it won't be.
2020.
That's Sal at stake.
Oh god, I'm getting so confused. So many new bloody title sponsors and crap like that.
I was like, is there something I don't know?
Honestly, I'm getting so confused. There are so many
New names.
VCARB. What are they going to be?
They will just still be
I'm getting,
VCARB.
yeah, so I'm so getting confused because Stake is also a low value team. VCARB. They will still be probably VCARB unless Visa pulls its funding, which could happen. VCARB. It's been such a long week. If they use Honda powertrains, Red Bull powertrains, it's happening. I'm going mad. If they use Red Bull powertrains,
The season hasn't even started
I'm
yet.
done. I'm done. I need a long sleep.
help you.
If they're using Red Bull powertrains, is Zach Brown gonna comment on that as well?
Yeah.
But he's using
so.
Mercedes power units.
Yeah, I think there's a line, isn't there? I do feel like there are points to what he's saying that should be looked into.
Okay, would he be he's not complaining about Haas right now. Would he Would he be complaining about Haas if Haas were further up the grid?
Oh,
See, that's the question.
I don't know, but I do think the main issue that he's bringing up is the fact that they're both owned by the same company. Not...
Yeah, and on that front, I do
stuff.
agree.
I agree on that. The other bit is so wishy-washy and grey that my mind can't take it right now.
Yeah. No, I do entirely agree. I don't think VCARB should be a thing. I think Andretti should come in and get rid of VCARB or buy Haas or something. But, you know, there's so many great motorsport families out there. And you're right, it's just, yeah, I don't see why Red Bull should have two teams.
No, I agree.
And on that note, let us know down in the comments if you agree as well. It's such a grey area. I'm so done. Really looking forward to the season, though. What a day, what a week. Let us know down in the comments if you do agree with Zach Brown, if you think Red Bull shouldn't own VCARB, if you think VCARB should be a team at all. Let us know. And while you're down there, you can like and subscribe. And if you really like it and you want to know, at the time of publishing, where do they click?
The notification bell.
That notification bell. Oh no, it's not lined up.
Oh.
Sorry guys.
Fail.
See you in the next video.